this underway. Hey, Chris Courtney here. Just waiting for the couch about to fire. Hope you're doing well where you are. It's raining cats and dogs here. I'm not sure. I may need to build an ark so that we don't float away during this little session that we got here. It's going to be a relatively short session. I got a 10 o'clock bumping right up against us, and we are getting out of the gate a little bit later than normal. But I had a question this morning from Lisa that I wanted to be able to get to help her get pushed off along the way. She has a Squarespace site that we're going to take a look at this morning. And we got Luigi in here. I see you, Luigi, already checking in on the daily stand-up. And also have Rebecca in. Rebecca's got a fun client. One of the things that's interesting with clients is sometimes they don't know quite where they want to go with things. That should be no surprise. That happens all the time. But what I will say is that there are ways to help them along the way, along their path, help them find their way. And so, good news, Couchbot is fired. We're live and direct. Chris Courtney here, new Pragmatic. It is time for the feedback loop. Got a fun show today. Rebecca's got a fun client that is moving around on her branding exercise and really kind of shifting. Oh, I like this. And the next day it's, oh, no, I don't like that. You need data for that person. Luigi's in here. We got his component exercise. We're going to take a look at that. It's in progress. We're going to try to see if we can get him steered along. And then Lisa's going through a lot of things. She's still working on Project Orion, and but she's got some questions related to her portfolio, and we're going to see if we can get her squared away with some help on that Squarespace setup that she's got. I try not, used to be, I'd be, oh, man, but I'm trying not to be that guy. Chill, Chris. Chill, Chris. Just, work with people where they're at. Rather than, get a big stick out and start banging on pots and stuff. Anyway, let's get this underway. Got a new keyboard, which makes me very, very happy. This thing, so nice. So nice. Like a boombox. It's different, though. It's a USB. The old one, which I literally, I had this one. Since 2009? This is 2009. Got these old double A's in it. It eats double A's in about a week, which is less than ideal, to be honest with you. I don't like burning. I don't like the battery thing anyway. But I do like it when I can just plug it into the wall and we're good to go. Although you can't change that. I hope I get 10 years of usage out of this keyboard too. That said, let's jump into this. Rebecca's got some questions here related to her client is wanting help, and it says luckily for Rebecca, she charged her enough to be dealing with this oscillation back and forth. She basically the client's wanting to cycle away from the design that she had previously, and I'm going to try to help you out here, Rebecca. So this right now, it when we're applying it, you've kind of got this this bottle here. And it kind of feels like you're trying to give it some sort of translucence on that brown bottle, which is fine. That's fine. I think this is curved, so that's one thing you got to realize is that what you're looking at here is going to have a curve to it. you know, I do think that I would try to think about it in terms of giving it a little more space to the side. I also would probably come through and try to go with a lighter version of this, but it looks like your version of Beirut that you have is just like one weight. So the only tool, you've got two tools available here to you. You've got size, and then you've also got uh, kerning or tracking, um, and that's about it. You just don't have a lot to work with re- with regard to that particular font. So there's limitations. I would really encourage you to stay away from the mixed approach here. That does really feel like you're just kind of reaching. Here, yeah, Briani, the thing you have with that is at least you have some weights. I mean, you could go up to a bold. You could give this. Sorry, I'll duplicate this and kind of give you some options here. Oh, I guess it just duplicated the thing. So you could go up with Briani in a way that the other one doesn't, and you could say, okay, I'm just going to go 0 and maybe just measure in. I want you to be, you know, this is branding, so I want you to be really careful about the spacing of every little character. And we're going to go in here and we're going to fine tune this negative space by negative space and really get this tuned up. The difference between this, I'm going to show you. So this has mixed kerning on it. The difference between this and this, which I believe was a -2, might have been. Let's get it. Okay. So basically, this, you know, it's like 5.5. 5.5 would be the equivalent. Spacing is so much nicer here. You get rid, like, look at specifically the E. Okay, what? Look at all that space there, and then bam, right into the A. Okay, here, very even. Really, that's the main gain that I see from this whole thing is how things interact around that E. It's like that E is just not able to naturally do what it needs to do. So I would look at that. I would also look at this and say, okay, is there an option here where I come in and I say, okay, well, let's go light, and you know, is that where I bring in the bold? You know, is there something with that? I don't really care for it myself. I think if you're going to do that, I think going with bold instead of the broader extra bold is probably a good idea. You could also look at extra light. At that point, what I don't like really is the I don't like the dot at the end, and I'm not sure the dot. Yeah, it looks like the dot exists on all of these. But this gives you something light and airy, and you can still come in and you can edit the space between and try to do something nice with it. But I might give it a different shape at the end instead of making it the period that comes with the font. Maybe it's a square. Maybe it's just a hand-drawn square that you use a stroke on to kind of mimic the what's going on up here. So let's just draw a rectangle and kind of mimic that. That's obviously not the shape that we're going to use. I'm going to add a stroke, and that stroke will be that brown, and get rid of that. That box is too big at the moment. But I do think the lightweight, and this is aligned with where the baseline of the type itself. And I think that's probably a little more nuanced if you want to look at these side by side. So we're going to get rid of this top one. And we're going to bring this one up. And from here, I think you can go bold. Like if you want to go bold, obviously it's going to be like 20 pixels or maybe 30. And here is branding. Sorry, not all caps. Branding message as needed. Not negative, maybe -2 on that. Maybe it's not 30, maybe it's 24. So packaging name as needed. And from here, maybe there is, actually, I don't like the -2. Maybe it's, maybe it's -4, something like that. Maybe it's not bold. Maybe it's regular. Maybe it, and I don't like the light. Maybe it's semi-bold. And then from here, I mean, do you come in and do you use some line work with it? Kind of picking up this 2-point stroke, or 2-pixel stroke. Is there some sort of line work that allows you to kind of bring that in? Do you go back and capture that brown? Again, this is picking up on the neutral tone. Is that thick enough to see the brown? I don't necessarily think it is. Do you pick up the lighter brown instead? I mean, that you can clearly see. Make it back to 2. And for this, is it, are you trying to buy space away from the name, and then you come back and maybe this comes down to 20, and something like that, where you're trying to like give it some space to breathe and be all fancy. Something along those lines. Again, this is a circle. It's a round shape, so it's going to bleed around at some point. Does this line just go all the way around? Is it continuous, and you just assume that this packaging is going to kind of curve with it? Another thought, though, Rebecca, in looking at this, is at some point she's going to oscillate back and forth. Okay? She's going to go, oh, today I love, well, yesterday it was I loved this one or something like it, and today it's I love this one, and tomorrow she may really like that one. I don't know. There's nothing right now to anchor her, is the problem. What I would suggest doing, putting together an A/B test or a preference test. If we come over to, we'll get to that one, Lisa. If we come, we got 20 minutes. User testing, or is it no, I thought it was user. Oh, sorry, usability. There we go, usability hub. So circuit logo test. So, well, I don't work at Block anymore. I hate that when an old thing comes up. It's like, I'm not a robot. Thank you. I just hate it when like old logins come up. It's like, go away. Don't save. Anyway, here we have a usability test, and I launched this because I had a client, and they had logos that kind of went in different directions, and basically all you have to do with this is get your options into a preference test. Send that preference test out to a representative group. So here there were 17 people that were legitimately stakeholders, and I just put it to the group and I said, okay, which one are we going with? And this allowed us to get some data. And once we had data, and I said, okay, this one got 47% of the vote, people were like, okay. And that was it. It was done. Right now, you have a client that is going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You need to get 4 options that she is comfortable with, that she shows some interest in, and you need to put it out in front of people and give her some data on it, because otherwise you're going to be at the mercy of her emotion. And I don't really think there's a right answer here. It's branding, okay? What she needs to help anchor isn't another option, it's data, okay? And if the data says, oh, hey, you know what? It's this curvy weird thing. Well, then that's what the data showed. She can at some point reject the data, but you can't ignore it, okay? You can in your mind go, oh God, and I just said it, I hate that one. But if the audience is like, that tested very well, then there's something to that for this particular usage, okay? I'm not going to tell you that data is going to produce a superior design. I am going to tell you it's going to anchor the decision making a bit, and that seems to be what you need right now. You don't need another. You don't really need another logo option. You need a test, okay? So my next step would be prep up a few options, get them into a form, and then say, okay, I'd like to send this out for a blind test so that we can get some data on these options to see which one tests best, okay? This is a question of, does she have a client list? Would she be willing to allow you to sample in that client list? She can participate in the test, okay? She can pick who she wants to go to if she wants. This is where a research cohort really comes in handy, but you're in a branding exercise, okay? So some of this may be, ask her if she'd be willing to pay for participants to take advantage of a preference test. But I think you need a preference test at this point, okay? So that said, I'm going to move over to Luigi. Luigi, you clearly are. Oh, Luigi's here. Hi, Luigi. Luigi's building out his component exercise, and I see breadcrumbs here, which that's fun. I see 1 through 9 of 87 results for chicken. I see pagination here on the bottom. Luigi has clearly been going through and utilizing the components that were provided. If you go over here to assets, you can see there's breadcrumbs right here, which that's kind of showing up here. There's pagination we scroll on down, you can see paginations right here. So you know, he's got the navigation clearly. So Luigi's been picking up on things. What is interesting to me is right now I don't. So in looking at this, Luigi, I see like the home page, and I don't necessarily see. Oh, okay, okay. So that's the hover is like I'm going, and it's just doing an underline. Okay. I wasn't picking up right away that was happening, but um, there is a variation on the design. Maybe that's the hover, and if we go to cards, I could see this totally. This is selected. Like the component here is card large selected. So like maybe if you're hovering, it's this underline, and then when you click, it goes to the purple. Maybe that's an option. Maybe you just if we come through and we just you might have, yeah, I think you'd attached it already, which is fine. But I would consider, okay, what happens when this click happens? Right now it feels like a hover, and then it takes you over to the chicken bake. And what I do like about this, or the individual screens, what I do like about this is you've got the breadcrumbs up here, which is nice. So I can get back to recipes if I want to. I think it'd be search though. It'd return to search results because that's where I'm coming from. But I could also see the breadcrumbs being, oh, I'm looking at recipes and now this is dinner. But this is the coconut curry. I love the usage of photo. Then you've got another photo, and then you've got a third. So it looks like if I click on this, it switches out the image, and this image goes down. So that's nice. I want to see where you're at in prototype. Okay, so that the prototype is hooked together. Yeah, this is pretty much on point. The only thing I'm looking for is, if I get in here, can I use these nodes to get out? If I decide I want to go home, will this take me back? And where will it take me? So I do think that that's important. The same could be said for that in the interaction with that underline. Let's go ahead and take a look at in prototype mode though, because you've made the prototype, so that's hella nice. All right, so the question I've got is, okay, so there is I see the darkens, which is nice. Although I think that's just telling me that it's available for hover. And then when I click, oh, that's weird. Okay, so it's there. I come down. There's something up. There's something up with this. Wait for. There's something up with your prototype. It's not. I can't actually get it to fire. So we need to take a look at that prototype. Something busted here. So that photo goes down to here. They all come down. Oh, well, that's weird. So they all come down to here for some reason. I'm not really sure why. And then and what that does, Luigi, is because all of these come down, they take me to a point where I can't necessarily just click on this. So that's a I'm trying to understand why. Are these darker? Yeah, Luigi, the problem I'm seeing right now is mainly in the prototype. I can't actually, like, when this happens, like right now I'm on the main screen. I'm on the first page. I'm trying to get the broccoli chicken divan. I can't move fast enough to get there because now I'm down on that last screen. And on the last screen, it doesn't go anywhere. It like, if we look at this in prototype mode, because all four of these end up going down. When I hover over any of them, I'm actually down here, and none of these are connected. So what I'm going to do, just to illustrate, is I'm going to remove this node, which is weird because that node seems to... Okay, what is going on? Okay, so... Oh, weird. Okay, I'm going to break this cycle real quick. Because what I really want is I want to be able to get to these other nodes. So now I'm going to come back. And now I can actually get to the chicken coconut curry, but there is a bounce here. So the spacing is off somehow. But when I click on that, I can actually get to the chicken coconut curry. Oddly enough, the image isn't going all the way across. So that's a problem. I mean, like the prototype just has little errors in it. So I think you've got the right concept overall. I do wonder, as delicious as that image looks, I do wonder if like having it smaller, and I'm just going to do this for our sake. Looking at it in the prototype, I wonder if having it smaller allows us to kind of get a better sense of it. And my gut says maybe, because, at that point I could probably have this come up just a hair and then bring all of this. And again, I'm just kind of riffing everybody, so don't worry. I'm gonna undo. Don't worry, I'm gonna undo. So I'm gonna bring this up, and the question is, can I get a sense that yeah, I can. I can see that there's ingredients now, and it's frankly more inviting to go down. And that's so anti where I would typically go with this, because I'm like, big photography. But I think the smaller photography actually might work better for discoverability, because with the larger photo, like, it's just taking over the whole screen, and I don't immediately get down to ingredients. Although I fight with myself with that, because I scroll down and I say, ooh, man, it's delicious. And then I keep going, and there's ingredients right there. Okay, so Luigi, we have some prototype questions I would encourage you to work through. There's some bounce in like the hover states, so I would get those ironed out. But overall, I think it's pretty good. I do wonder, if I have the selected state available, should that be in the mix, or is it a situation where that underline is fine? And again, that's where you are having a conversation with the team that you're working with, and about where that should go. Somebody else has jumped into feedback loop. Okay, I'm gonna have to do this really fast. So we've got Kara has jumped in here late. Lisa, I'm gonna do this real fast. If we're in your Squarespace, one of the big problems that we've had with your design is, if we go over here to Wonder Dog and we pop back out. The WonderDog site is just way too wide. Like type should never be this wide. One of the easiest options that we have available to us is to bring this information in width. So this is where you would go into your site styles. Some reason that busted, and let's just cancel. Okay, so we're going to site styles. Here's the styles. This is the site max width, and you want to bring this down. And I'm just gonna say 980, or let's just say 900 to get started. Okay. Now, when we save that and go out, we should go back to the design, and we can make that larger. What you'll see is now your width is a lot. This is a lot more readable as a width. The problem is the way that Squarespace works is it's saying that even this large image, which we want to have large, should be narrow as well. I also want to go back to your home page and make sure that it didn't alter that. Okay, so your home page has still got the width that we want for your large images, but the main image is just like crammed down in this little spot. So you've got a fix for the width, like this is a lot more readable. But what we still need to come through and do is we need consistency here. Oh, I lost my mouse. Okay, there it is. We need consistency here on the size. Like, all of these 4 and these 2 should be the same size. So there's some work that needs to be done on the graphic side of things to get consistency. But we also probably need to come through and write some custom CSS to allow this to pop out. And where that's going to happen is going to be right down here. So you can inject custom CSS. I need to jump in and kind of get a better sense of, I'll have to come in here and edit this individual screen and kind of get a better sense of how this is constructed. So, can I put a class on it? I know there's an image editor. Maybe I can come into the design and maybe switch this to poster. It doesn't really look like poster does much with it, although it wants a title now, so you just put that back in line. Stretch the image to the span of the container. Caption below, caption hover. So I mean, there's a bit of a problem here with, I'm going to cancel that and discard. So while I like the fact that and cancel that, yes, discard. While I like the fact that we've got your measure in, like you've got proper margins here, what I don't like is that the strength of your image here across the top is now blunted. So we need to come back and probably write some custom CSS to expand that, but I'm going to have to circle back on that. At least the margins are fixed, though, because that was your main question for the day. But I do think that we need a new logo construction so we get a shorter navigation. We talked about 2 big things. Like, let's get navigation that is more like navigation that you would see elsewhere on the web, and let's get a narrower width for your margin or for your sections. So with that, I'm going to take a 2-second jaunt through Kara's finished prototype. Let's see what we've got. She's in the components exercise land as well. It's taking a second to load. All right. So Kara has gone crazy buck wild with the number of pages, but that's what's required in a prototype to really shift things around. If we look at her prototype mode, you can kind of see what that entails. Let's go ahead and go over here into the prototype. See exactly what she's got. Okay, so here, kind of get the hover style. This is kind of what I was referring to with Luigi. Like it's very clear. Ooh, I love the navigation up here. Little breadcrumbs, home, search, chicken. So if I went, you know, if there was a screen for search, for actual search, if I click here, I can kind of get there. Let's go with broccoli chicken divan. That's nice. I see the other images here as well. See down below there's a similar recipes. This is okay. So one thing that we want to do, Kara, is like you see how it's bouncing. There's a way to fix that, and I think that's very important that we cover that here. Let's come in. So this prototype, there's a lot of linkages in here, and when we start moving, we need to preserve scroll position. Okay, and now with scroll preserve scroll position saved, I'm going to take a second to kind of walk us through what happens, because obviously you got to do it for all of them, and I realize that this becomes like the speaker cabinet from the 70s with all the wires in the background. Probably so your parents had one when you were a kid. My parents had one. All right, so let's just take the second chicken tortilla soup. All right, I'll save it. Come back to chicken. Love the navigation there. All right, chicken tortilla soup. We're gonna scroll, and when I click, like it's bouncing. Is it because I didn't save? Like what is it here that is not preserving? Okay, so that one isn't preserving. That one's preserving. That one's not preserving. That's the one you're on. That one needs to preserve. That's the one you're on. That one's preserved. That one's preserved. That's the one you're on. That one's preserved. That's the one you're on. That one's preserved. The one you're on, preserved. Preserved. Okay. So let's see if this works better this time. It's buggy. And am I on the right one? Let's see. Chicken tortilla soup. It appears that there's like one more page here. While hovering, preserve scroll, preserve scroll, preserve scroll. It's probably because I didn't do all of them at the same time. So preserve scroll, preserve scroll. And I think I remember that we tripped across this last time, Kara, when we were working through forms on Fresh Market. But this is one of those things that like you trip across it a few times. Yep. So you have to do basically all of them. But now you can scroll and you don't have that bounce. And that bounce is hella annoying for anybody that's working with this. It's like, oh, why did it jump away? Site's broken. Okay, it's preserve scroll motion or preserve scroll position. All right, so let's get that fixed, and I think you're off to the races, and you're back into Fresh Market. but preserve scroll position, that is going to make all the difference, because otherwise you get over here with coconut chicken curry and it's back in the, you can't, do it, just it gets all fussy. All right. Okay, folks, that's going to do it for this edition of the Feedback Loop. Melanie is knocking on the door, so it is time to get that underway. Melanie, heading your way right now. I'll see you folks later. Take care.